Going on, everybody? Welcome into Honest Game Perspectives, the show where we play games, talk about what's good, talk about what's bad, and see if it's worth your money or, more importantly, worth your time. And today marks the halfway mark of our 2025 year. We've had some pretty exciting games. We've had some disappointing games throughout the year, but we're halfway through. So I wanted to take a moment and count down my top 5 favorite games I've played up into the halfway part of 2025. Now, before we jump into it, I want to explain my ranking system for how this worked, because I initially thought that simply 5 through 1 was going to be the best order, but I wanted to give a little more thought. And actually, by implementing this sort of ranking system of the system, I kind of came up with my own idea and switched some games around. So allow me to explain the 5 categories I will rank all of these games off. So the first area I'm going to judge a game off of is the story. Was it good writing? Is the voice acting good? Did I feel compelled to want to be a part of the story? Did I feel like I wanted to sort of be in the story, or did it feel like it was a second part of the game? So that's category number 1. Category number 2 is the gameplay. Is the gameplay fun? Is it tight? Do the mechanics work well with whatever you're using? Is it something that is just an enjoyable experience that I don't feel too frustrated with learning? Or if it is hard to learn, do I feel like it's rewarding once you finally learn it? Now, the next category is something that I sort of came up with for my own sort of enjoyment. It's called PPE, which stands for price per enjoyment. A silly little name for it, but it's really, did I get my money's worth? Did I feel that the price of the game when I bought it was worth the enjoyment that I got while playing? The next category is replayability. Did I feel like the game was fun? Did I ever come back to the game after beating the initial campaign? Did I feel like it was something that was really enjoyable, that I was like, wow, I want to experience that again, even though I knew what the ultimate outcome would be? And the last category I rank my games off of is the mental grip. How much I think about this game. So coming in at number 5 right now on my list is First Berserker Kazan. This is a game that I was really anticipating for. In fact, it's kind of what started my whole YouTube video posting this year about games to begin with, is that I was really excited for this game, so I wanted to talk about it. But this game was fun. It was an enjoyable experience. It was nothing groundbreaking, but it did exactly what I wanted it to. It wouldn't be hard for something else to beat this spot in the second half of the year. It's not necessarily a top 5 worthy game, but of the games I've played so far, it's earned a nice spot here at number 5. And here's how it scored. The story, it gets a 2. Gameplay, it gets a 3. The PPE, it gets a 2. Replayability was a 3, and the mental grip was a 1. That brings a total of 11 out of 25. Next up at number 4, we have the game you've probably heard the least about on this list, and that's Atomfall. And honestly, I think that's its biggest weakness, is that it wasn't popular. People didn't talk about this game. People didn't brag about it. It wasn't a big streamer game. It wasn't a big YouTube game. It was just sort of a game that got released. And I think that's kind of the charm to this game. A lot of people complained about it feeling like an old school shooter or an old school game, but I think that's sort of refreshing, because it might have felt like an old Wolfenstein or an old Far Cry, but it definitely had like the modern charm. And I enjoyed it. It was a fun time. The voice acting was weirdly memorable. It's one of those games that now I still play games and compare the voice acting to that game, because I kind of liked it. It just seemed like it was a good thought out game. The visuals were really good. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, it's number 4 on my list. I don't see many games creeping up into the top 3. Probably 4 and 5 will be the 2 spots that change the most. But the overall score of Atomfall this year were the story, it gets a 3, the gameplay gets a 4, the PPE, it gets a 3, the replayability 2, and the mental grip 1. That gives Atomfall a total of 13 out of 25. Next up at number 3 is Oblivion Remastered. Now, this is sort of the only one on this list that I think will be controversial unless you disagree with any of the other rankings. But I think people might disagree with the act of a remastered game being in your top 3 of games released this year. But I think that counts. I mean, it's a remaster. There are things that are modernized for the game. People were working on it, and it got released this year. I don't know what other qualifications you would like for it to be like that, but I think that's valid to have in your list. And I never played the original game, so this was my first experience with Oblivion, and it was really fun. I mean, I enjoyed my time playing it. It was definitely one of those games that if I was younger or didn't have so much responsibilities, I could easily see myself sinking hundreds, if not thousands, of hours into this game, and then experiencing the modding community. I really think this game would have been, one of my favorite games of all time had I played it back when it originally released. Unfortunately, that's just not how it worked out. So now, several years later, decades later, even, I get my chance to play it on modern enhancements, and the game is fun. It's enjoyable. I mean, it's one of those games that I just think it speaks for itself, and I do think some people had some valid complaints about it, but overall, I really enjoyed my time. So the scoring for this game gets, the story is a 5, the gameplay is a 3, the PPE is a 3, replayability is a 4, and the mental grip is a 2. This puts Oblivion Remastered at 17 out of 25. And now we've made it to our top 2 games of 2025's first half. And number 2, we've got Clair Obscura Expedition 33. This game is probably going to be the game of the year, if not the number 1 game for most people. However, we'll get to number 1, and I'll explain my reasons here in a moment. But to talk about Expedition 33, this is one of those games that I think will make the test of time, and it'll really be a game that is looked upon as pushing the needle in the direction of video games aren't just a waste of time. Video games aren't just a thing that losers do or that nerds play in their spare times. They're really, truly experiences. And I have never experienced a video game quite like this. The combat was incredibly fluid. The turn-based aspect was something that I think turned a lot of people off until they played it with the parrying and the dodging. I mean, everything about that really flipped my head upside down when it comes to what I was expecting from turn-based combat. The only thing holding it back from the top spot is that I really didn't find myself wanting to come back and play this game or think about it as much as I did with we're about to get to number 1. And so that was kind of the biggest thing. Overall, this game gets a story rating of 4, gameplay 5, PPE 5, replayability 4, and mental grip 3. It was definitely one of the better games I've played in several years, and it is one of the best games I think we're going to continue to see games be made in this sort of style for the coming years. And taking the number 1 spot and would be my game of the year if the year was over right now is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. This game is a game that is a perfect game in my mind. It is when I think of gaming, when I think of entertainment and enjoyment, there are many games that come to mind that are close to perfect, but very rare do I find a game that is perfection. And for the most part, I want to take a second to just sort of explain how I made the difference between Expedition 33 and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, because for a while, Expedition 33 was my number 1 game, but there was something about Kingdom Come that really made a shift to me, and that's the replayability. I think when you play a game or you create a game and you're ranking the game, I think it's very fair and valid to rank the replayability as a determinant factor of if the game was good. If you find yourself in those late nights at night just kind of wandering around in your room or your bed and you're like, I just want to play that game, or you're at work and you just keep thinking about it, that's the game doing very well and doing very good for itself. So I think there's no other game that's come out this year that has come close to the perfection, which is KCD 2. So obviously the overall score is a 5 down the board, 5 on story, 5 on gameplay, 5 on PPE, 5 on replayability, and a 5 mental grip. That's a perfect 25 out of 25, and it's something that is incredibly fun, and to this day I still find myself logging on and playing a couple of hours whenever I want that feel. I don't think any other game is going to come out this year that'll dethrone the top 3 spots, but I'm almost certain no game is going to come out that's going to be better than Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. That's my top 5, the best games I've played so far in 2025. But we've still got a lot coming in the second half. Death Stranding 2, Ghost of Yotei, Crimson Desert, and many more. There could be a lot of games that shake this list up, and I'll be revisiting it at the end of the year, so make sure you stick around. But let's keep the conversation going with, what are your top 5 games you've played so far this year? Do you disagree with my list? Would you have different games in different orders? Make sure to comment down below and let me know.